On December 5, 1945, 5 American Navy bombers lifted off from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, on what should have been an ordinary training exercise. The weather was clear. The ocean was calm. Nothing suggested that history was about to witness one of its greatest mysteries. 90 minutes into the flight, the lead pilot suddenly radioed the control tower. His voice sounded confused. Then he said something no navigator ever wants to hear. "Both of my compasses have stopped working." A few seconds later, another message arrived. "We can't tell where we are. The ocean doesn't look right." Think about that for a moment. These weren't amateur pilots. They were trained military aviators flying aircraft they knew extremely well. Yet somehow, they no longer recognized the ocean beneath them. For the next 2 hours, ground controllers desperately tried to guide the squadron home. But every transmission became weaker, more confused, and more frightening. Then, silence. 5 aircraft carrying 14 crew members disappeared without leaving behind a single piece of wreckage. No floating debris, no oil slick, no emergency raft, nothing. It was as if the Atlantic Ocean had simply erased them from existence. But what happened next made the mystery even darker. Within minutes, the U.S. Navy launched a rescue mission. A massive Martin Mariner rescue aircraft carrying 13 experienced crew members took off to search for the missing pilots. Only 20 minutes later, it also disappeared. No distress call, no survivors, no explanation. In a single evening, 27 people vanished into the Atlantic Ocean, and none of them were ever seen again. The United States launched one of the largest search operations in its history. Hundreds of ships, dozens of aircraft, thousands of personnel. They searched for days, covering thousands of square kilometers of open ocean. The official result? Nothing. One Navy investigator later described the disappearance with a sentence that still sends chills down people's spines. It was as though they had simply flown off the face of the earth. For years, people believed Flight 19 was an isolated tragedy, a tragic accident caused by bad navigation. But investigators soon realized something disturbing. Flight 19 wasn't the beginning. It wasn't even the worst case, because these waters had already been swallowing ships for decades. And they would continue doing so long after Flight 19 disappeared. This mysterious region stretching between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico would soon receive a name recognized across the entire world. The Bermuda Triangle, a place where hundreds of ships and aircraft have reportedly vanished, often without leaving behind a single trace. Was it simply bad weather? Human error? Or was something far stranger hiding beneath these waters? To answer that, we have to go back even further. Long before airplanes, long before radio, and even before the modern world existed, because one of the largest ships of its time would disappear here without sending a single distress call. The year was 1918, and what happened to the USS Cyclops remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in naval history. The year was 1918. The First World War was coming to an end. One of the largest ships in the U.S. Navy, the USS Cyclops, departed from Barbados carrying more than 300 crew members and thousands of tons of cargo. Everything appeared completely normal. The weather was calm. The sea was peaceful. The captain reported no mechanical problems. Then, the ship entered the waters we now call the Bermuda Triangle, and it vanished. No distress signal, No damaged lifeboats, no floating wreckage, not even a single body. A ship nearly 180 meters long simply disappeared. More than a century later, no one knows what happened. Flight 19, USS Cyclops. Two completely different incidents, separated by decades, yet connected by the exact same stretch of ocean. And those weren't the only disappearances. Over the years, cargo ships, private yachts, military aircraft, and commercial airplanes all reportedly vanished under strangely similar circumstances. Many crews made one final radio transmission. Everything is normal, before silence suddenly took over. Naturally, people started asking one question: what makes this place so different? The mystery becomes even stranger when we look further back in history, more than 450 years ago. Christopher Columbus crossed these same waters during his famous voyage across the Atlantic. While sailing through this region, he recorded something deeply unusual in his journal. His compass suddenly behaved unpredictably. For sailors of the 15th century, that was terrifying, because a compass was their only reliable guide. Columbus also described strange lights rising above the ocean and unusually calm waters that didn't behave like the surrounding sea. At the time, many dismissed these observations as imagination, but centuries later, they would become part of one of history's greatest mysteries. Hidden inside the Bermuda Triangle lies another fascinating place, the Sargasso Sea. Unlike every other sea on Earth, it has no coastline. Instead, it is surrounded entirely by powerful ocean currents. Its surface is often covered by enormous fields of floating seaweed. On calm days, the water becomes almost perfectly still, like a giant mirror stretching towards the horizon. Early sailors feared entering these waters, not because of monsters, but because the wind could disappear for days. Ships became trapped, supplies ran low, and some crews never returned home. But perhaps the most controversial discovery came from beneath the sea itself. In 1968, divers near the Bahamas discovered something extraordinary. Huge rectangular stone blocks, arranged in a long formation across the ocean floor. Today, it's known as the Bimini Road. Some scientists believe it's simply a natural geological formation. Others argue its shape appears surprisingly artificial. Could it be the remains of an ancient harbor, an unfinished structure, or just one of nature's greatest coincidences? No one has been able to prove it beyond doubt, and that uncertainty has kept one legendary story alive: Atlantis. According to the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, an advanced civilization disappeared beneath the sea thousands of years ago. Many people believe, if Atlantis ever existed, its remains might lie somewhere within this region. There is no scientific evidence proving that claim, but the idea continues to capture imaginations around the world, because every new underwater discovery only adds another layer to an already impossible mystery, and that's where things become even more fascinating. Because while legends make incredible stories, modern science may finally have found clues that explain at least part of the mystery. Or perhaps they've only made it even stranger. Could invisible gas, powerful magnetic anomalies, and forces hidden beneath the ocean floor explain the Bermuda Triangle? Or are we still missing the biggest piece of the puzzle? Scientists have spent decades trying to solve the Bermuda Triangle, and surprisingly, they haven't found one explanation. They've found several. The first theory begins deep beneath the ocean floor. Hidden under enormous pressure are vast deposits of methane gas. Normally, that gas remains trapped beneath the seabed, but when it's suddenly released, millions of bubbles rise toward the surface. At first, that doesn't sound dangerous until you understand what methane does to water. Water filled with gas becomes much less dense. In simple terms, it can no longer support the weight of a ship. If a vessel happens to be directly above one of these eruptions, it could sink within seconds, leaving almost no time to send a distress signal. It's a fascinating theory. But there's one problem. Methane might explain disappearing ships, yet it cannot explain aircraft flying thousands of feet above the ocean. So scientists looked elsewhere. Another possibility lies in the Earth's magnetic field. The Bermuda Triangle sits near an unusual region where magnetic variation has confused navigators for centuries. Even a small compass error can send us aircraft hundreds of kilometers off course. Over endless open water, that mistake can become fatal. Then there is the weather. Satellite observations have revealed sudden microbursts, violent downdrafts, and massive rogue waves capable of reaching incredible heights. A calm ocean can transform into a deadly environment within minutes. Modern meteorologists believe these extreme conditions may explain at least some of the disappearances. But even after combining methane, magnetic anomalies, and unpredictable weather, one question remains. Why do so many incidents leave behind almost nothing? No wreckage, no debris, no answers. Perhaps the Bermuda Triangle isn't one mystery at all. Perhaps it's many different natural dangers, occurring in the same place, a perfect combination that has created one of history's greatest legends. Today, commercial ships and passenger aircraft cross these waters every single day. Most complete their journey without experiencing anything unusual. Modern GPS, advanced weather forecasting, and satellite communication have made travel far safer than it was decades ago. Yet the legend refuses to disappear, because somewhere beneath these waves rest the stories of ships, aircraft, and thousands of people who never came home. The Atlantic Ocean still guards those secrets, and until every disappearance is explained, the Bermuda Triangle will remain one of Earth's greatest unsolved mysteries. Maybe the real mystery isn't what happened inside the Bermuda Triangle. Maybe it's how much of our own planet still remains unknown. Because we've explored distant planets, mapped the surface of Mars, and looked billions of light years into space. Yet vast regions beneath our own oceans remain almost completely unexplored. And perhaps the greatest discoveries waiting for humanity aren't above our heads. They're hidden beneath the waves. If you enjoyed this investigation, make sure to subscribe for more documentaries exploring the world's greatest mysteries, and tell us in the comments. Do you believe the Bermuda Triangle is simply misunderstood science? Or is there still something hiding beneath those waters that we haven't discovered yet?